What's up guys, my name is Ace Cosplay and I'm here today to talk you through all the modifications that I did to my Shepperton Design Studios Battle Spec helmet and armour combo. Now I've done an unboxing of this armour on my channel, I did it a while ago when I first got my kit, so if you want to see that, check out the video up here. There'll also be a link down in the description below, and I'll also leave a link to the website where if you want to, you can purchase this armour. This is actually the cheaper of the two armour sets that you can get from SDS. This is a battle spec, which means it's done with a flexible ABS rather than the acrylic capped one. The acrylic capped one is the shiny version, so it's closer to the film, and also on the website they say the acrylic one is the one that they make using original molds from the film. This one is made using copies of the original molds, so it brings your price point down a bit lower, and I think this one is probably better for trooping in, as with the armour being flexible you've got less chance of cracking, so it's less upkeep, and it's also good if you want to dirty it up anyway. So when I first got this armour, it was horrendously too big for me. Armour is made to a standard size. If you make them with standard molds, you've just kind of got to work with what you got and see how you can get it to fit your body. If you're taller, it's going to be more of a case of just adjusting the straps to see what suits your needs. The taller you are, normally the better you are for a Stormtrooper, but there is a limit depending on how much gap you've got between sort of different sets of armour. If you're shorter like me, it's a little bit more of a laborious task. You've got to do a bit more work, you've got to again readjust the straps, you've got to cut certain bits out, you've got to readjust some of the attachments, and you've got to add padding in certain areas. But again, it all depends on your body size. You'll find you might have to do some bits, you won't have to do others. It's just a case of experimenting, but do be careful when you're experimenting with a suit that isn't entirely cheap, which again is probably a good reason to get the battle spec armour if you're not entirely sure, because then you are at least cutting into a slightly cheaper set of armour that is a bit easier to work with the type of plastic it is. So to start off with, I'm going to talk about the weathering before I take all this off and then show you guys all the stuff underneath. So if you're looking to weather your costume, there is different ways you can go about it. People sometimes use acrylic paints, they use bits of dirt, charcoal, but I wasn't entirely sure what to do for mine. I knew I wanted mine to have more of a sort of a grey dirt to it than a brown dirt, so I'm sort of trying to further myself away from the Stormtrooper look because I'm just going for just a battle-hardened kind of Stormtrooper. And my friend Joey, otherwise known as Weathered King Cosplay, go check him out, I'll leave a link to his stuff down in the description, gave me a tip on how to do this. The best thing to use is chalkboard paint. I just got a tub of this from B&Q, and for this I've barely used like any. I've still got a full tub, so if stuff comes off or if I want to add more or just change stuff up, you've got plenty in there. You can weather a lot of sets of armour with a small tub of this, and it is relatively cheap. So the chalkboard paint is actually pretty good because it stays on your armour quite well. I mean, after a few troops you'll notice in some areas it's gonna rub off, but I mean, if you just run your hands over it like that, it's not gonna come off like some things like charcoal does. And it is also removable if you use the right stuff. You might not be able to get all of it off depending on like how ingrained you've put your dirt in, but if you make a mistake and you're not happy with it, it is easy enough to remove. So to get the basic sort of ingrained dirt kind of look, what I did was I got a sponge, put a little bit of the paint on the sponge and just sort of worked it in to all the different grooves on the areas that I thought would catch some dirt, just all the way down on all the parts of the armour and just sort of brushed it over. And then with a clean sponge I went back over that and just wiped it away so it looked like more natural wear rather than you've actually put some paint on. After that I used some of this. This is Auto Gleam Instant Show Shine. This is essentially a posh polish that people can use from inside their cars, but you can use it for paintwork, plastics, perspex, rubber and vinyl. So it's also pretty good for just shining up your armour a little bit. And with Battle Spec being the armour that is actually quite dull, this helps clean up your armour a little bit and give it a bit of a shine, so it's pretty good to use, or if you want, just get something similar to this. Again, I just use that to get rid of some of the darker areas that I didn't think fit very well and just lighten up some other areas, and it does give the armour a little bit more of a shine to it. For things like the blaster marks, like I've got a big blaster mark up on my shoulder, I've got a smaller one that's down the chest plate and it follows down to the stomach, and I also have one down on the leg, as well as 3 scars up on the top of the helmet. For those, again, just use the same black chalkboard paint, but you want to paint on the shape that you want the mark to be in, and then leave it for a minute or so. Whereas when you're doing all the grooves, you just want to paint it on and then sort of brush it off straight away so you can smear it and it doesn't dry. You want to leave this for a little bit and then start wiping it away so the outside edge will start to dry, and then you get a paler bit on the inside edge. You might want to go over it a few times. With this main blaster mark, I painted it on several times and then use the polish just to wipe away a little bit more of the middle so it goes from light to dark and gets you a good sort of blaster effect. And I also carried it over onto this shoulder bell. I didn't carry the shape over, I just carried it over so it had dirt on it, so it looked like it kind of was shot at an angle and spread across. Because Stormtrooper Armour is supposed to deflect bolts at an angle. We never see it happen in the films, but it is the function of the armour. So having blaster marks like this shows that you've got shot and you've survived in the field. Again, it was the same principle for the scars on the helmet. Just painted on the shape, left it for a little bit, and then wiped it off, and then you just get this nice outline. And then with the scars on the bottom here, I just painted the outline a little bit more. So it's more of that looks more like a personal touch rather than a battle scar. Because on my lips, you can't see them on camera, but I do have 2 small scars on my bottom lip. So I thought I will take that and put it onto the helmet as kind of like my own personalisation of, well, I wonder where those came from. Maybe in some battle and there was a thermal detonator in my face, who knows. But now, moving on to the size modifications. I'm going to start from the feet and work my way up. So this is one of my Stormtrooper boots. I can't remember the site that I got this from. You can normally find Stormtrooper boots pretty easily online in a variation of sizes. This one isn't a boot that's screen accurate, but a lot of cosplayers do use it. But I quite like this one. It's a good leather one. It's got some natural wear and tear that's happened over the years, and it's also got this detailing on the top of the boot here, which works really well with weathering because you can get it all in the grooves and it makes it look just that little bit nicer. So I quite like it. The only problem I did have with is when adjusting the calf pieces to get them to fit me better, it means that the top of the shoe didn't fit very well underneath because I've got small ankles and this bit at the top is quite wide. So what I had to do was just cut down the back of the shoe, remove some of the fabric, and then stitch and glue a little bit more of it together. This is mostly hot glued together and it stays together pretty well. And with the armour over the top, you don't really notice that it's got a slightly odd shape to it. So that works fine. Again, just an easy modification to do. Moving on to the legs now, I did have a lot of issues with the legs on the SDS armour. They were too long and too wide for me, so I did have to do a fair bit of modifications to them. Not enough that they lose the shape of the armour, but enough that it sits more comfortably on my leg. So the first part was adjusting the width of the leg armour. You can see on the back of the leg piece here, this strip of velcro here was the original one that came with the suit. So when you do it up, that's kind of the width at the back. Now you can see the velcro strap that I've had to add to be able to get it so it fits the width of my leg. The easiest way I found to measure this was to just put it on your leg, try and hold it sort of in the best position that you can get, or get someone else to do it, and then just draw a pencil line down where this bit sort of connects over. Then you can figure out where to put a velcro strap. So it's a nice easy fix. So when you put it together, you tighten it up, and I think with it being tighter, the shape of this leg is actually a bit better. The one thing you do have to be careful with though is with that you'll find you will have some overlap at the top and at the bottom. At the bottom here you can find overlap in the terms of, see, this bit goes up and this bit goes down, whereas if they were further apart that line would match up a little bit more. But at the top here you will have one bit that sticks up, so you will have to cut that down. And you see on the back I have scalloped out a little bit of the back knees, not enough that I want to get rid of this ridge, because I do like this nice continuous shape that goes round, but enough that it levels out the top with the other side, and you have a little bit more space for the backs of your knees to bend. Again, to do this I just marked out where I think the best shape would be to cut it, and then used a Dremel just to sand away at the edge bit by bit until I felt the fit was comfortable enough. And then once most of it had been cut off, I then just got some fine sandpaper and sanded the edge down by hand to get a nice smooth edge to it. You don't have to do smooth edging by machines. The nice thing about the flexible armour is it's really easy to sand and it doesn't scratch really badly. So just get a bit of sandpaper to smooth the edges down when you're cutting stuff off. So I did the same on both legs. Again, cut out the back where I felt it needed to be cut. And also on some of them I did trim this inside edge a little bit as well. As you can see, this side is a little bit wobblier than this side. But I trimmed it and smoothed it down to make sure it wouldn't dig in, just so it fits a lot nicer and isn't as uncomfortable. The exact same process was done for the thigh pieces here. You can see that bit there is where the original connector is. So when you put it together, it was about this wide. See at the back, which is quite wide for my legs. And again, you've got to do the same thing of just going round and line up all the sides there. On the back you'll be able to still see some pencil lines where I was marking it out. You can just trim it down all around the edges and then go over it with sandpaper. Now, modifying both the left leg pieces then gave me another problem. See, on the left calf piece you've got this extra part which is the sniper plate, which is just a separate piece of plastic attached to the main body of the leg. Having modified the size and how it would sit on my leg, it meant that when I bent my leg, this would come out, and then when I straightened back up, the sniper plate would get stuck underneath the thigh piece on the left leg. So if that happens to your armour, the easy fix is just bring the plate forward just a little bit. This hole, this was the original one where the plate sat, and the one with the screw in it is obviously now where the plate sits on here. I did it so it's far enough forward that it didn't catch under the thigh piece, but not too far forward that you'd be able to see the original hole poking through your armour here, so this back bit of the sniper plate still covers it. So that's a pretty easy fix. Just use the drill tool on your Dremel. Again, make sure you mark everything out before you cut. Measure twice, cut once. It's a good mantra to live by. Now we're going to move on to the belt, the kidney plate and the chest piece, because you kind of all have to do them in one go to be able to get them to fit each other. So again, it's a little bit awkward, all depending on your height size. Now the original SDS belt, as you can see here, it's fully plastic rather than just having this front bit plastic and the rest is a canvas belt. Only came with one velcro attachment at the front that attached to this black bit of velcro here. Now the problem with that being is it wasn't strong enough and it kept falling down, which means you couldn't have anything in your holster because your belt would just fall straight down by your legs. So I had to fix that by adding some more velcro attachments to the side, but before I could do that I had to modify the kidney plate and the stomach plate. So to get the kidney plate to fit me better, I trimmed down the sides of both of these parts here to fit me better around the stomach and the back. Again, you might have to do this, you might not, depending on your body size, but the one major issue I did have with this was I had to trim down pretty much half of the back piece here. The kidney plate would normally come up to a little bit higher when I was wearing it on here, so a bit higher than the chest piece. When wearing the armour, ideally you want the chest piece to sit on your back rather than on the kidney plate. Having the kidney plate up too high for me meant when the chest piece was actually strapped together, it would be pushing on the kidney plate, and as soon as you moved it would raise the chest piece up and you wouldn't be able to get it back down with ease. It just wouldn't want to sit normally on your chest. So with much deliberation I decided to cut away the back piece. Now you do have to be careful because on the inside you do have your straps which attach these to your body. So these straps are actually push fasteners that are obviously attached to the velcro, that are also attached to push fasteners which are screwed into a small bit of plastic that are stuck to this armour. So I had to very carefully with a flathead screwdriver pry away the small plastic bit with the attachment from the back of the top bit of armour, so I could then re-glue it to the section when the top bit was then cut off. I also added a little bit of foam to the back of the poppers so they don't dig into your back if something's pushing on you and you find that the kidney plates are sort of squidging at you a little bit, because I found on my first troop that was quite uncomfortable, so I had to add some padding in there. So once you've trimmed that all down and taken off any of the back that you need to, your back plate when you're wearing it should fit nicely on your back with a small gap at the bottom there, just like it would be seen in the films. A lot more comfortable to wear and it looks a lot better. So now, as you can see on the side, there is an extra little bit of velcro here on this kidney plate, and there is the same around the other side on the kidney plate. This means now that I know how the kidney plates sit on my body better, I can then measure out where I can attach the belt so I can get it to stay on properly. So given the length of the belt, I did have to cut down a certain amount of one half of it and add a new strip of velcro on the inside, so when I folded it over it would all fit very nicely, and there's the same strip of velcro added there, so you don't have any bits hanging off. It all fits as a nice one piece. 2 small bits of velcro were added to either side in order to attach to the velcro on the kidney plate. Again, the best way to measure this is just wear the armour, just hold the belt on and figure out where it best fits and draw lines on with pencil, and then you can just maybe tack some velcro on so it's not the heavy duty stuff, because it does take a lot of effort to get heavy duty velcro off. So maybe just blue tack it on, see how it fits, and if it fits well and it looks good, then you can mark out where to put the proper velcro on there. So just stick it on and it holds really well. I recommend anything for your using attachments like this, heavy duty velcro is the best bet, purely because of the glue it comes on, so you don't have to re-stick stuff because it takes a lot of effort to remove these. Another thing that had to be adjusted for the belt was because the straps that go around your shoulders are elasticated. I found having my heavy resin Doopy-Doos E11 in the holster meant that it dragged down one side of the armour if I was walking around at a convention. Because now the belt's actually attached to the kidney plate, any weight you put in the holster will automatically drag your armour down, but then again if you don't attach it then it will drag your holster down. So it's kind of figuring out the good balance of, if you're going to have a resin blaster you're going to want to carry it in your hands rather than in a holster, but if not, I found a cheap E11 blaster on eBay. This is an old Hasbro one. As you can see, it's not entirely screen accurate. If I get my other one you can compare it. So this is my Doopy-Doos E11 resin blaster. It's really weighty, but it's a really nice blaster. If you don't mind your arms hurting, Doopy-Doos is probably the best place to go for blasters. They look good, they're well made, and they're sturdy. I have dropped this several times on solid floors and it's still in one piece. It is a fantastic gun. And then you've got the Hasbro version. You've got the rails, but you don't have the stock, and you don't have your ammo that comes out on the side. There is no gap at the rail at the top. It's just one piece of plastic, but it does light up and make noises. You can buy Hasbro blaster conversion kits if you're not a fan of just having a painted toy to make it look more like a screen used E11, so you can retain sort of the cheapness and the lightweight and the noises and have a good looking blaster. But I refer to this as my stunt blaster. I think I will get a kit for it in the future, but for now I'm just happy to have it like this because it's light enough, it can sit in my holster, and there are no problems with it holding down the costume. So when I eventually get a DLT-19, I can have this holstered up and carry my big gun and look really, really cool about it. It's just painted using standard spray paint. Just painted it black, dry brushed some silver. I covered the plastic bits on the side with some masking tape. A lot of people just cover it over, just spray it in black, but I really like the red going through it. So I kept it as that and made it look a bit more worn, like they were more sort of exhaust ports, and a small kill score on the side as well. So it fits with the more weathered look of my current suit. No modifications have been done to the O2 canister. It still retains the same plastic clip. Some people do changes for the screen accurate metal ones. This one works alright for me at the moment. It has fallen off once, so I may change it in the future, but for now it works fine. It's easy to get on and off if I'm getting changed on my own. And again, I just use the same weathering techniques for it, so it then just clips over the top of the belt and stays there. So there wasn't any modification to do size wise for the chest piece or the back piece. They've stayed the same, they haven't had to be trimmed, it's just cosmetic, and you can see a velcro strip on there for where my pauldron attaches to. There's the other side there. So when it's on, it's velcroed there, it just stops it slipping around so much. As without it, because there's quite a big gap, you can find it slips down there and it kind of shows a lot of the armour off here and can move, and it's a little bit of a pain sometimes. And also I have my Outlanders symbol attached to the pauldron. Again, it's just done with heavy duty velcro, so if it's more than one club you can then just attach, detach, and it's no problem, it stays on really well. The only thing I do when I'm wearing this chest piece is I make sure that these two bits here pretty much line up with the popper that you can see under there. Normally the back bit would probably just line up to this, so your two bits of velcro line up perfectly, but because I have a slightly small sort of chest width, I move it down a bit so you've got less gap up here and it stays more down there. It just brings it a bit closer, and it means you don't have to do any trimming. That's just the best way to fix any sizing issues. Just move the straps closer and see how it fits. Again, no modifications made to the shoulder bells or the straps on the arms, but if you find the arms are too big for you, then you can do the same thing. Just take it apart, mark out where you want a new section of velcro to go, tighten it up, and then get rid of any of the corners that don't match. Again, that's what I did to the arm pieces as well, the same as the legs, same as you can do to the biceps. Just tighten them up, added a new section of velcro where I thought it should sit, because if you just do it up on the original one, you see it's got quite an oval shape that runs against sort of how it actually sits on your arm, and you've got this big gap up here. So just by marking out where you want a new section of velcro to go, tightening it up, there's a bit less of a gap there, but I still keep that there because sometimes I keep my phone up my glove when I'm trooping, so if anybody calls me I can feel it go off, and then I just take that off, slip the phone out and answer the call. Smoothly segueing onto the gloves. These gloves are different to the gloves that you get with the armour. The ones that you normally get are just black chemical gloves, so they're black marigolds, like washing up gloves. They are screen accurate, those are what they had back then, and they would normally have latex hand plates on the back. That's the one New Hope had, but you do get proper armoured hand plates with this, which I prefer over having a latex one, because I just like armour parts. It's nice. I'm not one for being big on screen accuracy, I'm just one for looking good. So your hand plates are again just attached with velcro. It comes with all the velcro on the back and comes with velcro on the back of the gloves. But I wasn't happy with having the black chemical gloves. If you're wearing those, you normally have to talcum powder because it can get sweaty on the inside, but I prefer having more fabric gloves. So I went online and looked to see what other troops have, and I discovered these. These are black Nomex flight gloves. You can get them online for pretty cheap if you have a look around, but they are like half leather, you can see there, half fabric. They're a tiny little bit long for me in the fingers, but just because I have small hands, but they do have a good fit everywhere else. And because they're longer up here, especially in comparison to the old gloves I had, which were just normal leather gloves which ended here, so they'd sometimes pop out the cuffs of your armour. It means it hides the join between your sleeve and your glove and doesn't come out of your armour on your arm. So you just got velcro, got your armour. And on the other glove I do have a small bit of velcro that I've sewn in, because you will have to sew the velcro on here, not use sticky stuff, to make sure it attaches properly, and if you need it washing it means the glue won't come off. So I do have a small bit of velcro inside the glove on this one. It's the softer side, not the hook side. So I've got a spare phone case with the hook side of the velcro on, which I then clip my phone into, slide it inside the glove, attach it by the velcro, and that holds it in place along with the force of the armour being on, so it doesn't slip out. So that was what I had to do for the New Year's Day parade, so I could keep my phone on me in case anything happened. I just had it stuck in my glove and under the armour. So if you're looking for an easy way to do it, rather than having like a pouch in your chest piece and then you have to try and dig in there and try and get your phone out, keep it in your arm, just take the armour off, pull it out onto your phone. This neck ring on my armour here, It's the same neck ring I've had for years, just the old one. You can get tighter ones. I did make a tighter one. I got a neck ring from Jedi Robe. I took out all the ribbing in the middle and restitched it so it's tighter around my neck. But because of the way the armour sits on me, it makes me look bulkier than I am, and then I've got a little head. Having a bigger neck ring just helps even out the body shapes a bit more, rather than having bulky bubble head, bulky body and tiny neck. So I think it looks better, and this neck ring is just fabulous. But you can find neck rings pretty much anywhere, and you can easily modify them to your size. People normally make them in different sizes as well, so just check out which diameter you'll need. Easy to get. And just so you don't show any skin, I've got a balaclava, which then reveals a slightly freaky mannequin head. But it's just a silk black balaclava, so it's light, comfortable to wear, and it covers up your mouth as well, so people can't see through the gaps in the teeth, because kids do get sad when they realise you're a person in the armour. They think you're a robot for some reason, so just covering all the skin, it just helps you stay in that character. So lastly, we've got the helmet. So like I said, I just mainly weathered the front. I haven't changed the lenses in it yet. I am thinking of doing so, but I'll probably get them from the Imperial supply depot. So I've got more solid lenses, maybe slightly darker ones, because in the right light you can see through the lenses on the helmet. But it's no big deal for now, they work, and this standard tint stuff is what normally comes with helmets anyway. On the inside, it's not the best looking bucket. Some people do make theirs look like it would be like a proper military thing, but I've gone for it's cheap and it works. So if you're worried about how to get your bucket to fit you, hot glue in some sponge. Honestly, it's the best way. It's cheap, it's comfortable, and if you think, oh no, that's a bit too much, you can just rip a bit out. If you go, oh no, I need a bit more, you can just add a bit more. It works really well. Also, the gauze you can see in the front, you can see just through the teeth there, that didn't come with the helmet. This helmet comes with open teeth, so there's no gauze in there, but I thought just to obscure the fact that there is a face, just in case it's like really hot and I'm not wearing the balaclava, makes it a little bit harder to see in the helmet. I got what is a cooking splatter screen, or just get like, you can just get just a bit of mesh gauze. It was silver, so I sprayed it black, cut out the shape I need, hot glued it all around the edges so the metal didn't fray or poke me in the face, and then glued it into the front of the helmet. So it sits there, and it looks pretty nice from the front. It just helps add to it, just a nice little bit of detail. And one thing I did find as well, with having a thinner lens on your helmet, if you're standing in the wind will just blow the lenses into your face and they'll just dent in, and you wouldn't be able to pop them back out again unless you stood like out of the wind and they came out. So I thought, I can't have that for the parade, so I just added duct tape all there, just to make sure that when it gets pushed in, it doesn't go all the way in, it'll only just go in a little bit, so you don't get your lenses in your face. And there's an extra bit of sponge there where I mount the bucket cam on for any times that I use the bucket cam. So it's easy, just put it on and you twist. So it sits on your head really nicely, and because it's white on the inside, you can get it signed by your favourite actors, so always a bonus. Also, sponges aren't just great for the helmet as well. If there's any other parts of your armour that you feel just aren't sitting right, try adding some sponge in certain areas just to help push it and sit a little bit better. So that's it for the Shepperton Design Studios armour. I hope you enjoyed this video. When I first got this armour, I wasn't entirely sure of if I was going to like it or not, by, you know, just the way wearing it was just so uncomfortable, and I thought it's going to be a lot of work to mod it. It wasn't as much work as I thought. And now that I've had this armour for nearly a year and been wearing it out to conventions and have been slowly working on it, I must say it's probably the best armour set that I think you can get for a good price. I mean, I can't say that definitely, I've not tried every single armour set that's out there, but if you're in the UK and want a good armour set for a good price, this is probably the one you want to go for. That's it from me, guys. I'll see you in the next video, and as always, may the Force be with you.